I heard a really interesting phrase the other day, and it really got me thinking about it and kind of what it could mean for me. And that phrase was never stop starting. And when I'm out on these runs, I like to think about things, and it really gives me an opportunity to have some time to myself. And this phrase I've been thinking about for the last few runs, and I kind of wanted to talk about what it meant for me and kind of hope to get other people thinking about what it can mean for them. To me, the phrase never stop starting kind of is ambiguous. It doesn't necessarily apply singularly to any one particular part of my life, whether it be my fitness journey and running, my creative projects like YouTube or a blog, or just learning in general. I think it can apply to anything and can kind of be a great motivating slogan for anyone.
So I've kind of come up with four kind of major points of focus or things that I like to think about when it comes to the phrase of never stop starting. Number one is just being able to self-identify when you've kind of become stagnant or when you haven't started something in a really long time. You can lose a lot of time when you do become stagnant. You can do it inadvertently, you can do it without realizing, and when you finally do come to the realization that you've lost some of that time, it can be really demoralizing and it can almost make the problem worse. When I stopped running after my 2018 marathon, it took me a long time to finally come back to the realization that just because I had achieved that goal doesn't mean that I'm in a better spot than I was before. I had become content and stagnant, and while I may have continued to find interests and hobbies, nothing quite the same as running the marathon. Nothing that was able to guide my focus and give me a goal to shoot for. And that can be a very detrimental thing sometimes.
Number two is always strive to continue learning. I think learning is one of the most important things we as human beings can do, and to never stop starting learning, whether it be something new, something old, or something random. For me personally, running was a big one a couple of years ago when I ran my first marathon. I decided to start learning more about running and more about what the health benefits of running can be. When it comes to personal time, I know I am the type of person who will always learn about something, be instantly fascinated by it, and then want to learn as much as I humanly can about that thing. And it'll be all I think about for anywhere from a few days to a few weeks. Or in this case, and in the case of running, a couple of years or longer. And so to always find new things interesting and to always find new things to want to learn about, it helps keep your brain in practice in learning new things, how to look and analyze new ideas and opinions. It's great.
Thirdly, we have, I think, one of the most important ones, which is that motivation can get you started, but growing with your motivation can help keep you in it. And what I mean by that is motivation is a very powerful motivator, go figure, to take that first step towards a new hobby or a new interest, whether it be running or a YouTube channel or writing or drawing. It can be everything you think about for a very short amount of time, because you can have all of these ideas and motivation to want to leap in and try and learn everything you can about it. And that's very important. That's a very important first step. But after a while, even after doing it successfully for a few weeks, a few days, a few months, maybe even a year on, if that's your interest, you can find yourself falling back on old habits, or maybe it doesn't interest you quite as much. Maybe it isn't at the forefront of your mind all the time anymore, and then it can kind of fall away, and without you even realizing it. I use my marathon training as an example because that is the major focus that I'm choosing to use when going through this next round of motivation, and projects. I ran a marathon and then stopped. I stopped almost everything. I had achieved this major goal that I never thought I would in my life, and once it was over, it was over, literally, both it and kind of all of the other ventures that had come along with it. I realized that to truly take advantage of that motivation, you need to start with the end in mind. And I know that can sound like, you're looking at me saying, Dakota, you just said after you ran your marathon, you achieved your goal, that you obviously were starting with the end in mind. And that is true, but this is a slightly different way of looking at it. And by choosing to start with the end in mind, you can then focus more on the journey it takes to get there more than the end goal itself. So for this second round of marathon training that I have an end goal in mind. I want to run the marathon in under 4.5 hours, but I'm less focused on that and more focused on, okay, what do I need to change about my life to get to that point? And then from there, I'll then grow that into, okay, what do I need to do to keep this as a major focal point? I see it also with when I'm writing my blog. I had all of this motivation in the beginning, and it was easy to sit down almost every day and write and write and write and write. And now recently, now that I've started up YouTube again, I have all this new motivation, all these new creative ideas that I really want to just put onto the video screen, and kind of writing has kind of fallen by the wayside. And so with writing the blog, it kind of has fallen to second fiddle in my motivational categories to the YouTube channel. And by that I mean this is so much more new and exciting, and I haven't been doing it for a few months now. And so I have all of these ideas and juices, creative juices flowing to where I want to throw myself 100% into the YouTube channel and kind of let the blog fall to the side. And so what I need to do to combat that is to focus on the end goal in mind of I want to do both of these at the same time. And so, okay, what do I need to do now so that I can do that? I have to dedicate specific time to writing and specific time to video creation and editing. It doesn't have to be one or the other. There's finding that balance and changing what needs to change in your life to be able to achieve all of your goals evenly and be able to learn and to grow with it.
And lastly, number 4, you can always stagnate on your first step. And what I mean by that is you can set a goal and get motivated and start and actually finish your goal, but then just as easily fall back into old habits, fall back into what you were before you actually started. Or even you can take a step back just to the next lowest rung and then stay there and not even realize it. I found this out after I ran my 2018 marathon. I gave up running for an entire year. I tried to pick it back up a couple of times, and then it just never stuck again. I'd accomplished my goal. So why did I feel so bad about it? It's because I became stagnant again. It's because I didn't take that next step. I didn't go into my brain and say, great, you accomplished your goal. What's next? The marathon was the goal. And once it was over, for me, that meant it was it. It didn't push me to go any further. I had the end goal in mind, but I was still short-sighted. And even now, in the short term, I've taken a few weeks off here or there so far in 2020, training for my second marathon. But I've always had to take a step back, be able to look inward and see that this isn't where I wanted to be, and to start again.
The phrase never stop starting can be a very powerful one, and it can mean different things to different people. The 4 points that I shared in this video are what I've taken from this phrase and the insights and conclusions that I've drawn from my own personal experiences. And this isn't me telling you, the audience, what it should mean to you. I am explaining what the insights I drew so they can give you an idea on how to look inward and try and learn what it could mean for yourself. I want you to spend some time today thinking about this phrase. I want you to think about what it can mean to you, whether or not you've become stagnant, or what conclusions you can draw from it. It could be the start of some new motivation, some new creative project, some new realization on other things. Maybe you've realized that you've become a little lazy, or you've been focused too much on work and not enough on hobbies, or maybe it's the other way around. Spend some time today reflecting inwardly on it and kind of see what it comes up with. I think doing this kind of internal retrospection can be very useful, and can be very insightful for not only yourself but also the people around you. And I think that's a very positive thing. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up this video for me. Please like the video below if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to keep up with all my new videos. I plan on making a lot more of these because I find them very insightful for not only myself but hopefully for other people. And leave a comment down below, and after you've thought about this phrase or what it can mean to you, or maybe even just your initial thoughts on hearing my 4 points. I'm really curious to hear what you guys come up with. But with that being said, I'll leave it off here. I'll see you guys next time.